The TorbayHour Radio Show. Brought to you by the Babacom Inn Christmas Party Night.
Good evening, it is 8 o'clock, it's Monday night, which means it's the TorbayHour Radio Show. Hi, I'm Rick Edwards. Martin is here in the studio as well. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening.
And actually, we have a plethora of Martins, because we have Martin Hill as well, who's our guest this week. Martin, introduce yourself to the TorbayHour Radio Show.
Hi, I'm Martin Hill. I'm from Seaway Insurance Consultants in the Bay. We're IFAs. I'm here to talk about majority pensions and finance.
Pensions and finance. That's what we like, 8 o'clock on Monday night. But it's not all kind of down, is it?
No, not at all. There's been a lot happening with the field of pensions recently. In fact, if you go over the last few years, pensions have been constantly changing.
Yeah.
This is just the latest in a whole range of changes to pensions. But these are big ones.
Right.
So they're worth talking about.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming in. You got your tea sorted. That's all
Thank
right.
you.
Good. Excellent. Right now, if you've not tuned into the show before, what we do is we talk and we tweet business for an hour that affects Torbay and South Devon. So if you have a question you would like to ask Martin, you can get in touch. Twitter is the easiest way, of course, because we are all using it. It's as simple as that. You can email as well. You can send a direct message if you're already following us and we're following you back. You can give us a phone call as well, actually. 01626 361 977 is the phone number, and we can put you on the air and get your question straight to Martin. We have, of course, got our 140-second tweets. We will be hearing from them a little bit later. We've got our account of the week, and we've got some great songs as well. The amount of talent that is in Torbay and South Devon, in fact, Devon as a whole, and we want to showcase it here on the TorbayHour Radio Show. So, if you're in a band, we say this every week, if you're in a band and you want to get your songs on the radio, get some airplay and make the business community of Torbay and South Devon listen, you can do that. All you need to do is drop us your songs, and we could be playing it on the show next week. So, we need to get underway, and I think it's traditional that we use the account of the week, don't we?
Indeed.
Indeed. So let's get the account of the week this week. This week it's AC Print, and representing AC Print to tell us about what they do is Joe. So Joe, tell us, what do you do?
Well, we do print, funnily enough.
Right.
We do everything from small basic business cards, office stationery that you'd need, every business is going to need, to the more elaborate exhibition stands, displays and graphics. Large format print, we can do short runs, long runs, medium runs, pretty much everything that any business is going to need. And everything we do is pretty much under one roof, so we have control over everything. And really friendly service, so you can just pop in and say hi or pick up the phone and we'll give you advice or whatever you need to get what you need done.
Okay, now, we spent the last 2 weeks talking about kind of social media and the virtual world and electronics and how that's all changed marketing for people. But, I mean, really, there is no substitute for having a quality business card and decent prints. Is collateral the right word?
Yes, absolutely. And I think they both very much work hand in hand these days. You can't really have one without the other for most cases. You know, whenever you meet somebody in person, whether it's at networking meetings or however you meet your customers, you hand them a business card and then they're probably going to look you up on Facebook or on your website and find out more information about it. So the two do work really, really nicely together. And actually we found that rather than people not buying business cards because they're on the website, it is working the other way around and they're supporting one another. So the print does work really nicely alongside the social media efforts.
So is there a seasonal thing? Obviously, you're running up to Christmas. The other thing which occurred to me as well is when I get electronic Christmas cards and things, you just think, oh, dear, you know, they really can't be bothered. Presumably, you can do things like personalised Christmas cards for people.
Yes, absolutely. And that is quite a nice thing we do for a lot of corporates around the Bay is business Christmas cards. And it is still nice to receive that in the post and know that somebody's had that personal touch and thought of you and sent that across. I mean, I still like to receive, I'm a bit old-fashioned, but I do still like to receive an actual Christmas card in the post. And it is, yeah, it's a nice thing to do. But we can also brand the envelopes as well, so you can have, you know, a corporate message on there as well as your Christmas greeting, so it can actually work nicely as a bit of a sales pitch as well.
I must admit, I've not thought of the envelope. So you get the nice card and just ram it in a normal envelope, but now it takes it to the next level.
Well, yeah, it's good because even before they've opened it, you've got a chance to communicate with them on whatever message you're wanting to put in front of them at that time.
Sure. So how would you say over the last sort of 10 years or so, presumably technology for printing has changed radically?
Yes, I mean, even in the last few years, the machines and improvements that we've invested in has just been absolutely incredible. We have our own in-house direct mail machines and things like that now that just make life so much easier and quicker, and obviously then those savings are passed on to the customers. So technology is definitely our friend.
So, and obviously, in terms of sort of design work and things like that, do you have in-house designers that people can just say, look, this is my business, we don't really know what we want, can you help?
We do. We have our own in-house designers, and even sometimes people who do have artwork that they've used before but just want things tweaking and updating, we can do that as well, rather than having to, go out and try and find somebody that can do it. So we're pretty much cover all bases, and Steve, who's our main graphic designer, is really top-notch. Can't recommend him enough. You can see a lot of the work that we've done on sort of our Facebook pages that we pop up from time to time. So, they do really well, and we're happy to help everybody with whatever they need, and even if it's something we can't do, it's likely that we'll know somebody who can, and we can help point you in the right direction.
Now, I mean, again, I'm making a kind of radical assumption, and we'll get all your contact details off you in a bit, but I assume now, with the fact that I could pretty much sit here and just email you a design or a concept, the turnaround time has rapidly increased as well.
Yes. As with everybody, it's a case of, fitting things in workload-wise and when your deadline is. But, we can turn things around pretty quickly. And again, it depends on, if it's 100 business cards, they're pretty quick to whiz off the machine. But if it's 100 banners or Fomex signs, that takes a little bit longer to put together. But generally, I don't think we've let anybody down in terms of timings. And we do always, try to outdo ourselves and make sure that we're meeting our customers' expectations and just getting that out there and meeting their deadlines, really.
Cool. So where are the kind of limits to what you can do? I mean, you were talking, there's a big jump from a business card to a Fomex sign.
Yeah.
Where do you sort of say, well, hang on, we need to get somebody else in?
What, in terms of actually producing it?
Yeah, physical size. I mean, could you do roadside billboard banner things, the bus stop advertising and stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got all the large format machines, so we can do all of that. We've got digital, lithographic and large format all under one roof, so pretty much everything that we do is done there. And in terms of volume, it's just speaking to the customer, seeing what they need, when they need it, and making that happen.
So in the run-up to Christmas, already touched on that. I don't like saying the C word when we're still in October, but there you go. You have to plan ahead for these kind of things.
We do, yes, very much so.
What kind of lead time do you need to have from someone? If someone comes along and says, right, I need my corporate Christmas cards done, presumably people start sending them out early December. Is a month, 5 weeks enough time for you to get everything sorted?
Oh, plenty. I mean, again, it depends. If we're going to be needing to do the artwork, then you've got to factor in a little bit of time for that. But in terms of the actual printing and then posting time, it can be done quite quickly, within a week usually. And we send out all the details to our customers about our shutdown times and things over Christmas, and when Royal Mail's shutdown times are, so that we can make sure everything's sent out and received before Christmas rather than after. So, and again, every business is different. So it's just when they want their customers to receive that card, if it's in the first week of December, or if it's actually, the week before Christmas, and what works for them.
And there's a point where you can't be held responsible for late delivery. That's down to somebody else.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, what we try and do is just make sure everybody's aware that, Royal Mail don't deliver after this date, so you can't sort of guarantee it after that time, which obviously, logistically, they've got to get it all out. So we just work with everybody and just say, look, these are the shutdown dates, so this is when we need to press the button and get things done for you, and then, work from then. And so long as everybody knows what the dates are, then it works really well.
Brilliant. Now, give us your contact details. How do we get in touch? Where are you based as well, so we can come and say hi?
We're on Yalberton Industrial Estate. We are just up the road from Denman, which most people know of. We did start out in Brixton. We moved there nearly 2 years ago now, just simply because we needed bigger premises. Mm. So, yes, pop in and say hi. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and most of the social media platforms. So we're quite contactable across the board.
Brilliant. Give us your Twitter tag so we can say hi tonight.
It's at AC Print Ltd.
Brilliant. Nice and easy. Jo, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for being our account of the week.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So if you fancy being our account of the week, it's very simple. All you need to do is get in touch, and we could be talking to you in detail next week on the show.
The featured accounts with the Works Torbay. Flexible, affordable workspace. A new way of working and doing business.
Okay, it is the TorbayHour radio show with the Babbacombe Inn in Babbacombe, funnily enough, and their Christmas party night. So if you want more information on them, you can, of course, find it online. It's just after 8:10. Big breaking news, certainly for Torbay this evening. Changes for the mayor. He's been deselected by his party. So if you haven't caught up with that yet, it is all over Twitter. He remains, of course, as the mayor until the next round of mayoral elections. But big changes, and of course the latest breaking news on that on Twitter as we speak. What else is going on? What are we hearing tonight on Twitter, Martin?
Well, there's a fair few people actually talking about the mayoral sort of deselection, as we need to put it, I think. But there's also a few people on. We've got Sergeant Sheps is on. He's promoting his Facebook page as well, so he's a great follow actually, as Sergeant Sheps. He's always keeping everyone up to date with what's going on Torquay Police Station. And
I always like the scores in the morning when they've got who's in the cells, who's got the most people in the cells. Is it North Devon? Is it South Devon? Is it Exeter? Where is it?
Exactly.
So, yeah, good evening to you.
And we've also got Cockington Court on. They've got some spooky fun for the whole family at half term, which is next week.
Yeah, although some of the schools, it's half term, there's a 2-week break because of the length of the term.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah.
I never remember getting this many holidays.
No, well, we didn't. That's why. What else have we got?
We've got a new account on, Marketing Geeks. They are social media specialists covering Devon, helping businesses to focus on other aspects of their business.
Brilliant. Right, we always like a new account, so if you want to get followers, this is the way to do it. Tell us, we can tell everyone who is listening. So, let's come to our other Martin in the studio tonight, Martin Hill. Welcome along to the TorbayHour radio show. Thank you for coming in this evening.
Thanks for having me.
So, introduce yourself. You're from Seaway Insurance.
Yep, Seaway Insurance is based in Torquay. We're IFAs, Independent Financial Advisors. We've been in a bay for over 30 years. I've been in the industry for 35 years, and we just deal in the Torbay southwest area.
Right. Now, it's the reason we've got you in tonight is because in the past couple of weeks there have been some big announcements from central government in changes to pensions, potential changes to the sort of legislation and how people can tap into their money earlier on. Now, the whole pensions discussion is so broad now because obviously everyone has to have one. There's far more need for provision for your retirement age. So let's start with the announcements of potential change. And this is the thing, isn't it? Because I heard it and went, it's fine. You get to 55, you can tap into your pension. Not quite as simple as that.
No, it's not quite. We've got a situation now where we have statements made. We have an autumn statement coming up by the Chancellor on the 3rd of December. So that's a pre-budget statement, if you like, and in which they tend to make various promises about what's going to happen. So we're in a situation where changes to pensions have been announced, but of course the detail isn't quite finalised.
So is this the case of it's a kind of almost, let's see how the electorate feel about what we'd like to do, and then when they do the budget, it's then, well, this is for real? Yeah,
it could be. They tend to create these statements which have a lot of appeal, but the actual nitty-gritty, the small print, if you like, is worked out afterwards.
So what's actually on the table then for these pension changes?
OK, so the big thing, the big change for individuals, and there are other changes for businesses, which I'll come on to later, but for individuals, hitherto you have saved for retirement in a pension, and there have been strict controls over how that can be taken at retirement. And the traditional route for there would be an annuity. You'd save up a pot of cash, and you'd hit retirement, wherever that meant to be, and you would then buy an annuity, which is essentially an income for life.
Right.
Okay. And if you were to die, either before you hit the age of 75 or afterwards, various large tax penalties would apply to the fund. Okay, so what the biggest change is that they've actually made the whole pot available to you should you wish to. This is meant to be from April next year, April 2015. And if you wish to, you are able to take your pot and spend it as you wish.
Right.
Pretty much.
Okay. But now, up until now, you've still been able to access the funds, but that's been kind of heavily taxed, isn't it?
That's right. Okay, so if you don't buy an annuity when you retire, you are currently able to take what's called a drawdown arrangement, whereby you leave your pot invested. You can take 25% of whatever you've amassed as tax-free cash, and the rest are then taxed at your normal rate, whatever that might be. Okay, so there's a big change, this. It means that potentially you could take the whole pot out, you would get 25% of it tax-free, and the rest would be taxed at your marginal rate. Currently, you can only take out a certain level of income between a maximum and a minimum set by the government. That's being swept away.
Right. So now, is this something which is, it's hard, but with your IFA hat on, is this a good move, or is it something which is potentially dangerous? Because presumably you could take the money and go, I've always wanted to own a fast car, go and splash it on a new motor and then have nothing for the rest of your life.
Dead right. You could do that.
Right, okay.
They've looked hard, I believe, at the Australian model. The Australians have had this for some time now. And generally they've found that people, when they hit retirement, are rather more cautious than they are when they are younger,
Right.
which is understandable. So what they're seeing is that people actually are hitting retirement. They are able to take the cash out, but they don't go and blow it. Some will, I'm sure. But generally speaking, people, when they get to retirement, do take a more cautious line, and we believe that people will still want to buy safe retirement strategies, such as annuities, or leave the funds invested wisely and take the income on the drip, as it were. And that, for the most people, will be the way forward. That'll be the way to go.
Now, the much broader discussion about pensions, obviously, a couple of years ago, if memory serves, it was changed so that all employers now have to provide some form of pension arrangement for anyone employed by them. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Workplace pensions, we've probably all seen the ads on the television. We're all in.
Yeah.
And it's also known as auto-enrolment. Now, this has been going for some time now. It started off with the larger employers, but it's now being rolled out to the smaller businesses. And if you are in business and you employ more than 5 people, you have to comply with auto-enrolment, which means you have to put a workplace pension scheme in, irrespective of whether people want to join or not.
Now, is this, from as a small business employer, if you're faced with, right, now I've got to provide that, and presumably some form of contribution as well
Absolutely.
from the employer's side,
Absolutely.
is there a threat that could be a kind of barrier for employment?
Well, let's look at it this way, okay? Currently, it starts at a 1% contribution from both the employer and the employee. But
As a minimum level,
a
presumably.
minimum level.
Right. So could an employer decide, as some kind of perk for employment, decide, right, we'll make that 3% or whatever they decide?
An employer can put in more than that, but they can't put less.
Right.
The key thing is that by 2018, that will be 3% from the employer and a minimum of 4% net of tax relief, so 5% gross, 4% net from the employee. Now, it doesn't matter how you look at that, that's got to be found from somewhere, and small to medium businesses are facing a 3% increase on their wage bill because of this. And, of course, employees are going to find themselves 4% lower in their wage packet.
Right. So, I mean, bearing in mind that a lot of people have not had pay rises at all over the past 4 or 5 years because of the recession and the economic time, it's going to be in real terms, it is a definite cut, isn't it?
Oh, indeed. And, a lot of smaller businesses may find it hard to afford.
Yeah. We'll explore that more, but I think it's time to have some kind of refreshment, if anyone's listening. And I noticed we've got no cake on the table again.
No cake today.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, we need to sort that out.
We do need to.
We need to get some refreshments and enjoy a song. This one from Charlotte Ward, doing incredibly well at the moment. Recorded here at the Music Mill. This is a great tune. Stay here on the TorbayHour radio show.
It was always just for fun. Lost track of time and night. I last remembered why I missed all your hints. I miss the ache your heart supplied. Your heart supplied. Stay here, darling, don't brave the lonely road alone. Stay here, darling, risk the heartbreak from above. And stay here, darling, this isn't just for fun, no, or just for fun. We won't fall once we have the upper hand. We'll stand tall. Think on the other side. What if I was your heart, not your mind? Stay here, darling, don't brave the lonely road alone. Stay here, darling, risk the heartbreak from above. And stay here, darling, this isn't just for fun, no, or just for fun, just for fun.
Watch out for her. It's going to be big. Charlotte Ward and Stay Here. It's coming up to 25 past 8 o'clock. Busy in the studio tonight with Martins. We've got Martin, of course, from TorbayHour. Good evening.
Good evening.
And also Martin Hill from Seaway Insurance. We've been talking pensions and finance and things like that. And off air, we were just saying there about one of the big things, really, is the advice that obviously organisations like yourself provide, which, what you were saying there, isn't going to be provided in the future, pretty much.
No, there's been a real drive down on pensions charges. Okay, now charges are only one side of the coin, because performance of your investments does matter equally as much, if not more, than what's being charged. But the drive down on charges basically means that there's no room for provision of advice that's paid for.
Right.
So we're going to have a situation where a lot of employees are going to find themselves in an auto-enrolment pension, a workplace pension, and they won't really understand what they've got.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the way that this used to work, where you would, if you had below a certain level of employees, you would provide someone to come in and give you that pension advice and give you the chance to take a pension, but it wasn't necessarily a contributory pension from the employer.
And that has been the case in some times, but previous to this, that advice has been paid for by the providers of the pension. So
Right.
your big insurance companies, your big pension companies have provided that advice. That's no longer built into the model. So unless you've got a very benevolent employer who's prepared to pay for an advisor to come in and give advice, you go ahead and get it yourselves, guys.
Right. But surely, I mean, as an IFA yourself, that's the kind of thing you would be chomping at the bit to do, because you presumably you earn a commission based on what you sell as a financial service.
Yeah, we don't earn commission anymore. That's now been
Right.
done away with. We can charge a fee.
Oh, okay.
Okay, based on our advice, and we very often do that for individuals. But when we come to an employment situation, we do look to the employers to pay for that advice, or they let their employees go to websites, magazines, wherever they can get advice from.
No, and that's presumably the inherent problem, because the reality is, if you're 18, you're just starting out in your employment life, you're actually more concerned about what car you've got, whether you've got the right smartphone, where you're going out this weekend, saving for holidays. You don't generally, you might if you're unusual, but you don't generally think, I tell you what, I'll check out the Financial Times and I'm going to find out where my best pension investments lie.
Yeah, and isn't that the paradox? Because it's the 18-year-olds who can make such a difference to their pensions by choosing their investments wisely and managing them and checking them, because you can make a massive difference to the outcome of a pension because of the long time it's got to go. A 40-year-old, 50-year-old who's got much closer to retirement is going to make far less impact.
But at 18, retirement is an impossible. You just don't even consider it, do you?
Sure.
How do we go about changing the mindset then for the 18-year-old, the college leavers? Is this something which needs to be a part of the mainstream education system? Because that's something which I certainly, when I was at school, we never did anything about tax planning or anything at all like that. And certainly pensions was never on the agenda.
No, I'd love to see some sort of decent financial advice given in schools. But it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Why?
The curriculum...
Is it just because it's common sense and therefore they'll never do it?
The curriculum's squeezed already.
Right.
They simply can't fit it in, I don't think. No, it's got to be built into the workplace, I believe. That's
Right.
where people should be able to access good quality advice regarding investments and pensions.
But that, again, is really down to the company you're working for. Because if you're working for a big corporation, either a national or multinational company, that kind of infrastructure is there. It's the smaller businesses. And also, let's face it, if you're a 1-2-man band, you've reached the level of 5 employees, you're now having to provide this kind of service. When someone starts, you've got so much to take into account now, on top of all of the insurances and things that you have to provide to just open the doors of the business, to then start thinking about decent financial advice.
The key thing here is that small business employees cannot give advice to their staff. Their staff may have a lot of questions, especially if you're going to start taking money off them out of their wage packet. They may quite rightly want to know where it's going. And an employer can't give that advice. You need to find a local financial advisor, preferably an independent financial advisor such as us. We can work out a package with small employers to suit them, to suit their workforce, and give some quality advice, not only now, but throughout the journey.
Right. Okay. And that's presumably something which an employer would just contact you and say, right, we need to start making these provisions for our employees. Can you come in on a particular day, presumably annually, 6 monthly or whatever, and provide that advice?
The key thing for businesses out there is you need to know your staging date, okay? Small to medium-sized businesses will be staging anywhere between now and 2018.
Explain staging.
Right, okay, so staging date is when you are meant to actually go live with a pension for your workforce.
Right.
It's a specific date. You can find it on the Pensions Regulator's website. Just type in your PAYE code and they'll give you that. The trouble is we're getting to the thick end of the wedge, okay? We started with the large employers, which obviously are small numbers, but as we get closer to the end of this, there'll be very large numbers of employers having to put pensions into place. You need to be ahead of the game. You need to be looking at this at least 12 months before your staging date.
Right. Okay. We'll find out more about that and all of the... Well, I was going to say all. We'd be here for the next 20 years. Some of the other things about pensions and financial advice. If you've got any questions, by the way, and you want to pose them to Martin, you can do that via Twitter, via the phone, via whatever you mean. Martin, what other Martin? Me. Martin too?
This one, me?
Yes.
So what have we got going on? We have some new people on. We have the Pig Apple, who are a company who do hog roasts, that type of thing.
Oh, right.
So we'll have them on board, and we'll see if we can get them in the radio show, because we can't just keep eating cake.
No, but after the stench of you a couple of weeks ago in here, we don't really want it. No, it could be worse. Anyway,
we've also got Torbay Offers One. They promote offers and discounts, deals, and promos around the bay. So if you've got a discount, then mention them, and they'll give it a retweet, and give them a follow if you're a bargain hunter.
We like that as well.
It also seems like we had a couple of events going on over the weekend. Macmillan Devon have been on. They want to thank everyone who ran the Great West Run for Macmillan Cancer yesterday. And we've also had the Brixham Harriers on, who are saying well done to their Harriers, Nicky and Martin, on completing the full Eden Project Marathon yesterday. So it looks like it's the time of year for marathons.
Well, it's a good time to run. I was going to say, what do I know? It's a good time to run. The weather is nice at the moment.
The weather is lovely
Although it's the tail end of Hurricane Gonzalo coming in tonight, isn't it?
Apparently so, but the severe weather warning missed us, so I don't know whether we're going to get it quite so bad.
Well, we'll find out in the next 24 hours or so. It's time for one of these.
The 142nd pitch. Sponsored by Torbay Discount Card. Torbay's community discount card.
Now, the 140-second pitch, if you've not heard it before, you have 140 seconds to pitch your business, what you do, where you are, how to get in touch, etc., etc. Based on the idea that in Twitter you have 140 characters, seeing as we are an audio Twitter service, it's 140 seconds. It is as easy as that. Now, our first 140-second pitch tonight comes from PSP. PSP, your 140 seconds to tell us about yourself starts now.
PSP are an independent insurance brokers who have been providing insurance solutions to our customers for over 30 years through our established branches in Chippenham, Saltash and Newquay. On the 1st of September, we opened our brand new 4th branch in Torquay, which will focus primarily on all aspects of business insurance, including motor, as well as both commercial and residential property owners. No matter what size your organisation, PSP aim to give a traditional insurance broking service with your own personal account manager dedicated to you. We have a small but highly experienced team in our Torquay office, with all staff having at least 12 years insurance experience. Insurance is all about protection, safeguarding your business, your family or yourself if something unexpected happens. It's one of the wisest investments you'll ever make. If you deal direct, the old adage of caveat emptor, or let the buyer beware, applies. It's down to yourself to ensure you fully understand the cover you are purchasing, or possibly more importantly, the cover you are choosing not to. At PSP, we will seek to understand your insurance requirements and find the right policy for you. We will endeavour to explain clearly what is and what is not covered, what the warranties, terms and conditions of the policy are, and the potential pitfalls of non-compliance. We will ensure you only purchase cover you really need to, but will also recommend other specialist products that you may not have considered, such as directors and officers or cyber liability. We also check the financial rating of any insurer so that you can be confident it has the security to meet its obligations to pay claims. Should the worst happen and you do need to make a claim, our dedicated claims team based in our head office will do their best to ensure the claim runs as smoothly as possible. I know you're inundated with adverts for insurance, and unfortunately we can't give you a cute, cuddly toy, but myself, Bob, Katie and Teresa will give you service you can rely on and friendly expert professional advice. That's PSP. Email us at inquiries@pspinsuranceSolutions.com, tweet us at PSP Torquay, or call us on 01803 467 027. Thank you.
Well done, 140-second pitch. If you fancy having a go at that, and we say all the time how hard that is.
It's very difficult.
It is tricky.
You need to plan.
Yeah, you do, definitely. If you fancy having a go at that, get in touch. Drop a direct message through to the TorbayHour account, or, of course, you can just send them a message via Twitter, or to us, and we can get you on the show for next week. It's coming up to 25 to 9. We're here until 9 o'clock alongside the TorbayHour. So if you want to get in touch, I noticed, by the way, that Dot's Pantry have been tweeting pictures of cakes again.
I know. We try and have a word of him, but he just keeps on doing it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. And as I keep saying, the table in the studio is bare tonight. It's quite ridiculous. It really is. So what else we got? What have we got coming in tonight?
So we've got a couple of more new people joining us tonight. It's great. If you follow these people and it's through the radio show, do mention it's because you've heard me talking about them, because they'll listen. So we got at Shiny Shoe Claire. That's her first time on TorbayHour, and we've also got at Just Gas Torbay.
Right.
So he's a gas engineer, not just a smelly person.
Yeah, that's your department.
That's my department.
One of the things which I find so encouraging is that there is this, I mean, every week we get more and more businesses, new businesses that are arriving on the hour, either listening to the show or on the Twitter feed.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that there is this much vibrant business activity in a part of the world which, if you were uninitiated, you would think was a sleepy community that didn't really have an awful lot going on.
Well, I think, yeah, if you look at Torbay from the outside, it's a tourist trap, isn't it? And nothing happens in after September, but look at it, it's October and TorbayHour is going crazy the last couple of weeks,
which is brilliant. We love it. What are you, other Martin, now? So are you finding now that with technically, I guess, the recession is over, even though I think we're probably lagging 12 months behind other parts of the country down in the southwest? Is that something that you're finding? Is there more confidence in the business community?
I don't think it's changed a lot over the last 18 months. I mean, the markets have been very volatile just over the last week and a half, actually. So it might be a bit premature to say the recovery is well on its way.
But isn't that's down to external influences? More, what's going on in the Middle East and the Ebola thing to a certain degree as well. I'd have thought has an effect on it.
Oh, sure, yes. So we live in a global market, even down here in Devon.
Even down here in Devon. That's the other thing is that some of the industries that are in this part of the world are in fact global players. I mean, there is actually a large amount of things like, I know a business that's not far from here which is making race engines for world-class racing teams, proper Le Mans car stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And there are businesses in the Bay that make components.
Yeah.
For the auto industry and all that sort of thing, yeah.
So I mean, there is an awful lot of export aside from obviously a lot of the very sort of public-facing, the tourist-based industries which are here as well.
That's right.
Now, back to we're talking pensions, financial advice, things like that. The setup of the new services, also the setup of people's pensions. We've covered the fact that the younger you start, the more secure, if there is such a thing as security, the better off you're going to be in later life.
That's dead right. The younger you can start a pension, the better, because it relies on a long period of investment to produce a large fund, and you mustn't underestimate the fund you need to actually produce a decent pension. It's in the hundreds of thousands,
right,
to produce a decent income in retirement.
So really putting you on the spot here, if you were putting away, I don't know, let's think a sensible percentage, if you were, say, £50 to £100, is that kind of normal level someone would put away? Because there's a certain degree of tax relief involved as well, isn't there? There
is. There's tax relief on what you pay in as an employee. Or as a self-employed person, you do get tax relief.
So if you're putting away, say, £100 a month, just as a figure out of the air, by the time, so if that's what the £1,200 a year rather, over the course of a working life, what kind of, are you going to get any sensible return from that, or do you need to be looking at putting away a higher percentage?
Here's one of the myths. A lot of people have read all the newspapers and heard all the media that pensions are bad investments, you're being ripped off, what have you. We don't see that as advisors. We see over the long term pension producing a very good rate of return for people, not only because of tax relief, but that has a big part to play in it. Somebody who's starting off at the age of 18 or 20, putting that sort of money away, would expect a decent level of retirement. The trouble is that £50 or £100 is above the norm.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And it's not surprising, because actually it's only later in life that you have the income to support larger payments on the whole.
Although I suppose if you started and if you were that way inclined and you decided, right, actually I've never earned that much money, even if you were only earning £500 a month, if you thought, well, I've never earned any more than that, I'm not used to it, it's when you're used to it and then you suddenly decide to wave goodbye to 10% of your income every month.
Sure, absolutely. And, you've got to start somewhere with a pension to just, keep the level of contributions at a sensible level, basically, and you can build on that. And it's later in life that you can start putting rather more into pensions. And one key thing that the Chancellor has actually announced, which has put a lot of people off pensions, and that is that if you die with a large pension pot, your spouse or the beneficiaries of your estate have had to pay a very large tax charge on that pension pot to get that out as cash. It's been up to now 55%. As a tax charge, big tax charge. Up until the age of 75, that's now being done away with altogether. So you will be able to pass your pension pot on to the next generation, not only a spouse, but any named beneficiary. And this is a major change to pensions, and it's one of the biggest barriers, certainly to people in later life, to putting large amount of money into a pension, because effectively, especially if you bought an annuity, that might be a single life annuity, and the pension dies with you. But no, this is opening a big opportunity now for the future generations to pass long accumulated pension pots through to the family.
Now, because one of the things which I guess it took me a long time to get my head around it was the fact you always think, because you pay income tax, don't you, on money you get out of a pension.
Yes, they give with one hand and take with the other. You're dead right.
And I was always thinking, well, hang on a second, you've already paid tax on this once, and you're paying it again, and then you pay it again when you die and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Actually, if you do this properly, you get tax relief on the contributions. So really, you're only paying tax as income tax.
Yeah,
when you've
okay, so a
retired.
number of variables here. You may be paying higher rate tax in the accumulation years, and when you hit to retirement, you might be down to the basic rate level of tax, so you may be taxed less on that pension coming out at that level. But you're dead right. You get a little bit of tax relief as you pay in, but you're taxed on the money as it comes out in the way of income. But hey, we all want an income in retirement.
Yes.
Okay.
Just yes.
Exactly. As I said to you during the break, the pension isn't the be-all and the end-all of retirement planning. It's one of the tools that goes with it.
Right.
Okay. Don't rely on just property. I hear that all the time. I'm not going to invest in a pension. I'll just buy property. It may not work.
Right.
Okay. You need pension. You need a bit of property. You need cash in the bank when you hit retirement.
But this is all something which an IFA like yourselves would be able to advise people on, because presumably, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, is it? And with pensions as well, can you select a level of risk? Can you go for a very high level of risk and a potentially higher rewards with with your fund?
Investment risk is the heart of what we do.
Right.
We're all different. We all have a different attitude to risk. Some of us would quite happily take the money down to Newton Abbot Racecourse and double it. Okay, other people will put it in a tin under the bed, and luckily you can tailor an investment portfolio or a pension portfolio with your own attitude to risk, which may change through life. As I say, in the early years you might have a rather more cavalier attitude to risk than you do when you hit retirement.
Right, well, yeah, that's fairly logical, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is where advice is so important, because there are thousands of funds out there, thousands of different ways of investing, not only in pension, but any investment. And it's getting the one that's right for you. And that's where you need advice.
Yeah, everyone needs it. Otherwise, unless you're an independent financial advisor yourself, you just don't stand a chance. It's as simple as that.
No, you can't do it on your own.
Right, okay, we'll come back and find out more. As ever, the time is running away. It's coming up to 8:45. Let's get another song on right now. This one from Adi, this is good. I like this. This is called Take Everything. It's kind of appropriate for pensions. play this for the Chancellor. Yes, Take Everything. Or not. On the TorbayHour radio show with the Babacom in.
The creaking door that lets you in run through the hinges and given up to sin. Lost your hand in another wind. And the curses of millions follow you in. Yes, the curses of millions follow you in. The saints go marching in with their guns. Of the world, the weight of the sun. Blood is bursting out through the skin. And you should go, and you should take everything. Now you should go, and you should take everything. Designed to love in this life. Cut out the tongue, the pain just doesn't taste right. And all your peace is a merchant of lies. And the window for change is single breath wide. It's the window for change is single breath wide. Go marching in with their guns. The eyes of the world, the weight of the sun. Blood is bursting out through the skin. Now you should go, you should take everything. We not taught to suffer when nothing's wrong. Oh, we not
AD and Take Everything. It's the TorbayHour radio show.
The TorbayHour radio show. Brought to you by the Babacom Inn Christmas Party Nights.
And we've been talking finance and pensions, and actually we've been talking off air about music as well, and how great music is in Torbay and South Devon, but more on that for you as the weeks go by. So it's coming up to 10 to 9 now. Martin, the pensions thing we were just saying, the taxation, pensions, the whole game is just an endless minefield, really, of sort of traps for the consumer, using the broadest term. That's you and me who do need those services, but also the providers as well, the businesses of all levels now. It used to be, obviously, big businesses probably had it as a bit of a perk, but now basically if you employ people, you need to worry.
Yes, you do. Well, worry is probably the wrong word. You need to be aware of the regulations that now exist. Okay, the pensions regulators, they're not messing around. If you need to put in a workplace pension, they will let you know in certain terms. And the cases I've dealt with so far have been ones where employers have let it rather too close to the mark. And, it's difficult to deal with under those circumstances. So we've had what I would class as sort of medium-sized businesses who have just missed the staging date, and it's a difficult one to sort of put right. So
how long does the process, if we contacted you tomorrow and said, right, okay, we need to sort this out, we've got 20 employees or 5 employees, how long from start to finish of the process do you need to
Well,
to
currently it will take several weeks to put into place, but that's likely to increase as the providers get busier.
Of course, yeah. And also, as there is a large number of businesses needing it, if
That's
you're going
right.
to sort of increase that.
Yes, so I mean, you have to notify the staff, you have to do all the necessary letters, you have to choose your scheme, and there's a lot to work out with payroll. The biggest headache for an employer is payroll, okay, because this thing has to be administered. So not only have you got your by 2018 your 3% input to your employees' pensions, but you have to administer that as well, and that can be a bit of a nightmare, especially if you've got a large staff turnover.
But that, I mean, presumably that's one of the kind of outsourced services that accountants can provide, is running a virtual payroll if you haven't got the resources internally to do it.
At the right price, yes.
Well, of course, everything
Yes.
everything has a price.
Yeah.
Now, what's obviously we're saying here, this is, everyone's got to have this. What happens if someone sort of says categorically, no, I'm not going to do it? Or don't they have that option?
Okay, so the nitty-gritty of this, in effect, it's auto-enrolment. So there are certain eligibility criteria. So for most of the workforce between the age of 22 and state retirement age, as long as earning over $10,000 a year, will automatically have to be enrolled.
Right.
Now, you may think, OK, well, they'll just opt out. Yes, but you can only opt out of something if you're already in it. And this is where you can come unstuck. A lot of people think, well, people just say they don't want to be in it, and that'll be us.
Right.
It's not how it works, unfortunately. The regulators insist that everybody who is eligible is automatically enrolled, whether they want to be in it or not. That includes company directors.
Right.
Okay.
And this actually brings us on to a whole area which we probably left too late to talk about, is self-employed. Because
yes, it doesn't really impinge on the self-employed.
It doesn't. Right, that's an important point, isn't it? So it's basically, you could end up with half of the workforce who have sorted themselves out fine, but a whole load of sort of low-income, former self-employed people at retirement age.
Exactly. Currently, they're on their own, so they have to take their own pensions advice. There's nothing automated. There's no system in place which is going to compel self-employed people to do pensions.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting point. I think. So if you are self-employed, or of course an employer in a small business, that could possibly be not your undoing, but it's certainly something to be aware of.
Oh, very much so. And don't forget, of course, businesses have to offer their scheme to anybody else who doesn't qualify on terms of age or earnings. So it's a catch-all, really.
So that would include part-time employees who don't necessarily earn enough or don't do enough hours,
That's right.
or whatever it is.
That's right. Yeah, these are either entitled or non-eligible workers, to quote the jargon, and they weren't automatically included in auto enrolment, but you have to offer the scheme to them if they want it.
Now, bring in the kind of 0 hours contracts, or the contracts that allow people to work for several different employers. If they were all earning, say you'd got 3 jobs and you were earning 10 grand from each one, would you be enrolled in 3 different schemes?
No, not necessarily. There are some complex rules regarding this.
They were bound to be, weren't they?
Indeed. All to do with average of earnings.
Right.
Okay, so, seasonal workers, good point in this area.
Yeah.
A lot of seasonal work. Okay, and there are rules and formula as to how that is worked out and annualised. And we talk about pay reference periods as well. So people are weekly paid, monthly paid, that sort of thing. But yeah, there are some rules and regulations applying to seasonal workers and to as you call 0 hour contracts and that sort of thing. And it's worked out on an average basis, and if that average shows that you'll be within the eligible criteria, you will be auto-enrolled.
Right. There is so much, and presumably so much more, that is left unsaid after an hour.
Exactly. And you can opt out once you're in, but you are automatically put back in every 3 years. So you can't get away from it.
So, it's important we get your contact details in. So if people have got more questions, or they need to start the process off, or they want to find out more about it.
Absolutely.
How do they get in touch with you?
Number of ways. We have our website, which is seawayinsurance.co.uk. We have email, which is info@seawayinsurance.co.uk. Or you can call us. And the number is 01803 328 008, and you can ask for me, Martin, or colleague Chris, and we'll be delighted to help.
Do you use social media at all, Facebook and Twitter?
My colleagues do.
Right.
And I don't myself. Bit of a dinosaur in that regard, but never mind. Yes, we do have some presence on Twitter and social media, and I can't tell you the contact details for that at this stage.
No, that's fine.
But
I believe it's at Seaway Insurance.
Well, there you go.
It's easy enough. I mean, obviously, the tricky thing with this, I was just about to ask, could people post questions via Twitter? But with only 140 characters, just sort of referring to the legislation is going to take more than 140 to return.
It's a complicated area, pensions, and it's very individual.
Yeah.
It's individual businesses, individual employees, and it has to be tailored advice. You just can't do a catch-all scenario.
Okay.
So, no, if you've got any questions of any nature regarding any of this, then we're there to help.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you for that. And presumably wider than just pensions as well, other financial services, so investments generally.
That's right. Investments, mortgages, all, the whole gamut of financial services are offered within Seaway.
Okay. What would you say is going to be the biggest... not necessarily change, but the biggest thing which is going to affect business generally, not just in Torbay and South Devon, but over the next 12 months? Are there any other things, aside from pension changes coming up, which are potentially traps, or not deliberate traps, but things which people could come unstuck on, or are going to face changes in what they currently do?
We're already a highly regulated industry. It doesn't stop the rogues operating, and stories come out all the time. But generally speaking, people just need to realise that they need to save for themselves. The state pension is there. It may become mean tested in the future. We just don't know. But you need to be able to save effectively and have an effective strategy to deal with the changing marketplace.
And if you've got any influence over someone who's just starting their working life, then try and sort of underline the importance of pensions and planning, even if it's not an attractive thing to talk about.
Absolutely. Time is of the essence, and the younger you are when you start, the better it is.
Just as simple as that.
It is as simple as that, I'm afraid, yeah.
Right, okay. So actually the Christmas present lists then for 18-year-olds this year should be about financial and tax planning. books and website addresses and stuff like that.
They'd be delighted.
Martin, thank you so much for coming in this week.
You.
It's hopefully it's been interesting for people. I've found it interesting, and certainly it's underlined the fact that I don't think I'm prepared enough for it. I think when I was about 25, I said, right, I'm going to work to 55, that's it. If I work to that long, I'll be retired. It ain't going to happen. It's as easy as that. So we're coming up, where are we? It's 3 minutes away from 9 o'clock.
been insanely busy tonight.
Very, very busy. So tell us what's going on then. What's going on the Twitter feed?
Okay, so we have two more new people. We have at Sylvan Adventure. So they're on there tonight as well. And I'm going to get this wrong, at Senor Coco Loco.
Right, okay.
I knew I'd get, but I did that all right, so I'm proud of myself. So we've got that going on. A couple of things from our point of view. We've got our Torbay tweet up next Monday. That's going to be at the Quayside Hotel. So if you want to join us there, then you can do. And while you're there, you can say hello to our newest team member.
Oh, right, okay.
So, last week, James turned around to me after the show. He said, with you on the radio show, it is manic, so therefore we need someone else in. So we have got Millie and Me. Sophie from Millie and Me, who joined us the other week, has now joined TorbayHour. She's been tweeting all the last hour. Thank you, Sophie. You're doing a fantastic job already, and now you can't quit, because I've told everybody.
Right, okay, thank you for that. So if you want to get in touch during the week, you can do that via Twitter. You can send us emails as well. And also, as we've been saying, if you're in a band, and in fact we've just found out Martin is in a band. This is quite remarkable. You play saxophone.
I do.
We like that. We want to get music from you on as well. I mean, we've played sort of rock music. We've played sort of ambient music. It's time we got on some sort of big band music.
Yeah.
I like that. So what kind of things you play?
Okay. Oh, a lot of show themes.
Right, okay.
So we do lots of medleys. We do a really good Stevie Wonder medley.
Brilliant.
And just general tunes of that nature for wind band. Really good. Really enjoyable.
Being a saxophonist, presumably you play Baker Street regularly and...
I haven't actually done that one, strangely enough.
For goodness sake.
I know, well, there you are.
We expect that in a future week. So anyway, yes, if you're in a band, whatever size, whatever your style, get in touch and we will get you on the show. It is that simple. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. You've been listening to the TorbayHour radio show. Thanks to Baba Kamin for their continued support. If you want to find out more about them and their Christmas party nights, again, you can find that online. They would love to see you down there having a Christmas party. And I'm still struggling to comprehend with the fact that we're sitting here. It feels like a couple of weeks ago it was Christmas, and yet here it comes again.
It's crazy.
It really is, isn't it? Thanks for listening tonight. Don't forget, you can listen again. So if that financial advice was kind of something which you think, actually, it would be really useful for my employees to hear that, you can do that via the YouTube channel. Martin, give us the details of the YouTube channel.
Just search for TorbayHour on YouTube, or you can find it via our website.
Easy as that.
Which is torbayhour.co.uk.